Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day 677. 677. January the 28th, 2019, Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let's go ahead and get to it. We have a lot to cover today. Alrighty, so many of you have been watching a lot of these interviews with Roger Stone. He was doing a lot of media the last 2 days. He's been all over the place and, of course, being very confident. And a lot of people want to know why he's so confident. Well, part of that is part of his shtick, his kind of tough guy shtick. And I get that, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something else going on here, and part of that, Devin Nunes, it slipped out of Devin Nunes this morning, or Sunday morning, when he was on with Maria Bartiromo. And I'll get to that in just a minute, other things about that interview, but specifically about when Maria Bartiromo asked Nunes about Roger Stone, and Nunes just got kind of a smile on his face and said, yeah, he said, I'm really looking forward to the discovery process. That should be very interesting. And so what is Nunes talking about, and why is Stone so confident? Well, of course, Stone was indicted on mostly process crimes and things and such. Nothing there of any real serious nature, and likely if Stone got any type of jail time, it probably would be just a couple of months at the most, and if it was any more than that, Trump would probably pardon him anyway. But why is he so confident? He has 4 really good lawyers. He has another good lawyer offering to do pro bono work for him. He has a legal defense fund, so I think he feels like he's in pretty good position to deal with Mueller. And I think one of the major reasons for this is that because Stone is going to fight the charges, unlike everyone else, cutting a deal. At least he says he's going to do that for now. And if he sticks through with that, that means that he won't be cutting a deal, which means it will go to trial, which means that he will get the benefit of discovery. And in the discovery process, Stone's lawyers can wreak a lot of havoc with the Mueller investigation. That's why you see that Mueller, in every case, runs everyone as hard as they can until he finally gets them in a position where he offers them a deal that, even though they like to go to trial, it's just much easier just to take the deal, not go to trial, and get real minimal sentence like a Flynn or a Papadopoulos or any of these other people who he really doesn't have any hardcore crimes on. Manafort and Yates are the only 2 guys he really had a lot of crimes on, and those were all dealing with things long before the election, dealing with bank fraud, tax evasion, tampering with witnesses, and what have you. There was a witness tampering charge against Stone, but I think it's weak. It's a throwaway. It's something they threw in there. They'll probably not get it. It's throwaway, and that's why they leveled so many charges against Stone, so that when they get to the end of it all, they can say, okay, we're willing to throw away 5 or 6 of these 7 charges. We'll just hit you with the 1 charge. You might get 30 days or whatever, hoping Stone will just take the deal. But Stone is of the set of a mind that I think that he would actually go to trial over one fairly minor charge, just to prove his point. So it will be interesting. Nunes is right. It will be interesting to watch this go to trial, because Roger Stone understands, as his lawyers do, that when you get into the discovery process, it all comes down to the evidence, because everything starts with the beginning of the evidence, and that's what they're going to challenge. That's what Stone is going to be focused on, and his attorneys. Why is that? Well, because one of the most important things in any criminal case is the evidence, and specifically how they handle the evidence. Many high-level, involving serious crimes, many high-level cases have been completely thrown out of court because the chain of custody of the evidence has been lost. Well, what is the main piece of evidence for Uncle Bob for his case? Well, it's 2 things. Number one, it's the dossier, but it's more importantly in the Stone case, it's the DNC server that was alleged to have been hacked by the Russians. Of course, as we know, the government didn't look at the servers. They were given a snapshot of the servers from CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, of course, hired by the Hillary Clinton's people. Perkins Coie, Mr. Sussman specifically, hired CrowdStrike. They refused to turn their servers over to the FBI or the DHS, even though they practically begged them. And more importantly, we know that, and I reported on this on TowerGate over a year ago, that somewhere in the course of the handling of that server, there was a break or a loss or a failure in the chain of evidence in the handling of the server. So there is a broken chain of evidence in the handling of the DNC server. And a broken chain of evidence will get a case thrown out quicker than you can say spit. And Stone, who follows this Spygate story very closely, and had followed the Seth Rich stuff, he was on that. He's all over the DNC server stuff. He's all over exactly how that was all handled. So both he and his attorneys know that the chain of custody on the evidence, which in Stone's case is the DNC server, was broken. And the evidence that they have produced by CrowdStrike would generally not stand up in court because it was not the government's evidence. It was a private party that, in this particular case, was brought in by the opposition. That would be the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC. So they would have had a motive against Stone. So this is why Stone is so confident. This is why Nunes is smiling, because Nunes knows that in the discovery process, all these things are going to be unearthed. And so my thoughts on it at this point are, yes, if we had an actual, real, honest DOJ, if we had a real honest system of justice, equal and fair justice, that Stone would win this case and it probably wouldn't go to trial because of the broken chain of custody and the evidence. However, because we live in a banana republic, we have a completely politicized and biased and criminal Department of Justice. We now have a prosecutor who's acting literally as a fourth branch of government, having even more power than the president or the Congress themselves, as has been evidenced by events in recent history. I would say it's a very tricky matter. So if things were the way they should be, Stone would probably walk, in this case would never go to trial. But because we now live in a banana republic, a post-constitutional banana republic, Stone could probably face some charges here. So that's my general take on it. You ready for this one? This is something I put into my timeline that I don't think I got to on a previous video. If I've already talked about it, excuse me, I can't remember if I talked about it or not, but I don't think I did. I think it was one of them days where we had so much news I never got to it. But it's on my timeline and it is very, very important. And it's from about a week ago when Greg Jarrett was on Fox News. And he was talking about, commenting on a story from Lee Smith, who of course has done an excellent job on the Spygate story. And Lee Smith has gained some evidence now proving that both Andy McCabe and Silly Sally Yates read every line of the FISA application on Carter Page. Andy McCabe and Sally Yates read every line of the FISA application. And because of what we've learned from Bruce Orr, we know that McCabe and Sally Yates both would have known that the information that they were looking at was the dossier, that it was bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and that the primary source was Christopher Steele, who Bruce Orr told the FBI and the DOJ was heavily biased, hated the president, and wanted to take him down as a candidate at that time. So this is two more officials, an FBI official, number 2, Andy McCabe, and Sally Yates, the assistant AG, who read every line of the FISA app, went ahead and signed off on it, even though they knew that it was horribly biased, and they did not present all the evidence to the FISA court. They are part of a fraud upon the FISA court. Just more evidence. This is literally now everyone at the top of the FBI and DOJ has now come out and basically said, all the people who looked at that FISA have said it was uncorroborated, it was unverified. Many of them have said, McCabe said that they would never have gotten the FISA without the dossier. We now have Sally Moyer saying it was probably 50-50 at best. We have all these people now painting the perfect picture, including Bruce Orr himself, of the fact that they knew that this entire thing was garbage, and they went to the FISA court with it anyway. And that's why I believe that William Barr will have no choice but to convene a grand jury, bring these people in, get their testimony, and charge them, indict them with crimes. Of course, we do live in a banana republic. Maybe Barr will change that, maybe not. I have no idea what to expect from Barr. But if I'm a betting man, and I'm looking at history, I wouldn't bet a single penny on him. Hillary Clinton telling people around her that she's not closing the door on 2020. As I've been saying for a very long time, those of you who watch my videos every day or have been watching my videos for a long time, you know that since even before last summer, for more than a year, I have been saying that Hillary Clinton has every intention of running again in 2020. She never stopped campaigning. She never stopped raising money. She's continued to raise money and campaign since the day after the election. She doesn't know how to do anything else. And as far as she's concerned, the nomination is hers, and she owns it until she decides to decline it. And she has not decided to decline it. She never has. So, as I've been saying for a very long time, the Right Reverend Clinton has every intention of running again in 2020. Every intention. Well, bad news for Kamala Harris. Hillary's probably behind this. The former mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, has now admitted to being in an extramarital affair with Kamala Harris. Brown also admits to giving Harris her first state jobs. He says he may have helped her with her career by appointing her to 2 state commissions. He also helped her with her run for district attorney in San Francisco. And at the time of their extramarital affair, Brown was 60. Harris was 29. So she slept her way into the higher levels of politics, just the way it's typically done with a lot of folks like her. And so now we know how Kamala Harris worked her way up the political ladder in the Democratic Party. She slept with an old man with some power who could deliver some votes and had some ability to put her in these positions. So that's how that works. And it shouldn't surprise anybody, but that probably won't help Kamala Harris. And my guess is that the Right Reverend Clinton is behind that to take out what she suspects might be someone who might present a challenge to her. Just like Tulsi Gabbard, I'm sure the Right Reverend's behind that sabotage. They're trying to buy Bernie off right now. I expect that he'll want $2, $3, $5 million to walk away. He'll probably take the money. So we'll just keep watching the shit show that is the Democratic Party. More good news. It appears that the ex-Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, who's very far to the left, Trump-hating liberal, is saying that he will run as an independent in 2020. Well, if Howard Schultz, he's a billionaire, if he runs as an independent in 2020, as far left as he is and as much of a Trump hater as he is, he will probably get at least 10-15% of the vote, and that could be very damaging. Remember, he doesn't need anyone's money, so he could be very damaging to the left. And if he ran as an independent in the general, he would split the Democrat vote, and of course that would guarantee Trump is going to be reelected. Of course, you have people like idiots like Chris Christie who's saying, "Don't count it out that I may challenge primary Trump in 2020." Go ahead, Chris Christie, you or Romney or anyone else who wants to primary Trump in 2020. You will be embarrassed. Embarrassed. I'm telling you, they're not going to do it. They're talking, they're blowing smoke. That's all it is. We have the Yellow Vest in week 11, some of the most violent riots that we've seen in the entire saga. We're now at week 11 with the Yellow Vest protest in France. And Macron continues to give ground. Now he's having these little town halls, and he's capitulated on several things. But, they want him gone. I mean, they're not willing to negotiate with him or give him a chance to do anything. I mean, part of their issue, they want him gone. Now, I did get to hear a pretty good interview with a Yellow Vest leader, and I don't know if he leads the whole group or whatever. It's like a herd of wild cats, and as I've said, they never really had a coherent message. But if in fact what this guy said is representative of many or a majority of the Yellow Vest protesters, then it's even worse than we thought, because what they're protesting about is that they're saying essentially that Macron is too far to the center, too far to the right, and that he's implementing policies that are capitalist policies that benefit the CEOs and the wealthy, and they want a far more leftist agenda. They want a more socialist, more wealth redistribution, more punish the rich, 99% tax rate, something like that. So, as I've suggested in previous videos, the problem with the Yellow Vest protest is that they are protesting because Macron is not far to the left enough. Well, this reporter, David Shortell, it's being rumored, and keep in mind, this is only a rumor. I do not know this to be a fact. It's not really on any of the major websites where you would expect to see, or news and information sites where you would expect to see, where I sometimes go to verify things that I see pop up on the web. And there's no real well-known news sites that I trust that are running this story. But just so you know, it's out there. It's being reported that this reporter, David Shortell from CNN, who was there at the house waiting for Stone to be raided this past week, there's some, I don't know if this is a rumor or what this is, but it's being stated or said or passed around or rumored that he used to work for the FBI and was in fact an assistant to James Comey, the former director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her. So J. Edgar Comey. So I don't know if the story is true or not. If that is true, that wouldn't help their situation because no one believes their story anyway. And this would add to that. So I don't know if this is true or not, but it's out there. Lee Smith was on Fox, and basically he's echoed exactly what I've been saying for many, many months, which is that he doesn't believe that the Mueller probe is ending anytime soon. And of course he questions the Mueller probe from the very beginning because it was corrupted from the start, because it's mostly based on the dossier. Exactly what I've been saying for a very long time. We have Adam Bug-Eye Full Shift telling CNN that, suggesting to CNN that he will be targeting Donald Trump Jr. and looking at him for possible perjury. So Devin Nunes is on with Maria Bartiromo, and in addition to that little conversation where he was kind of chuckling and talking about not wanting to see the discovery process and the Stone hearing, assuming Stone takes it to trial, which I hope he does, if for no other reason than just like Nunes, I want to see what comes out and what Stone's lawyers want to see, or what direction they want to go in on the discovery process. Now, I can assure you that the very first thing that lawyers look at in the discovery process, the very first thing that they go into is the evidence. And they look and see if there's any broken chain of custody in the evidence, or the quality of the evidence, whether there's any bias. And if you look at the chain of custody, we know it was broken. That's a fact. That's a fact. We know that. For the FBI, it's the FBI's own people that say, yes, we lost track of the server. It was here. We know where the physical server is, but the paperwork, which must go with the server everywhere it goes. Apparently, that server was moved from point A to point B or what have you, but the paperwork, there was no paperwork to release it or authorize its removal. So at the end of the paperwork trail does not match the movement of the server, and therefore it's a broken chain of custody in the evidence, which would generally get the case thrown out. But there's also whether or not there is a bias within the or how the quality of the evidence. And of course, we know it was CrowdStrike. It was not the FBI or DHS who looked at the server. They were refused even to be able to look at it. And what was given was from CrowdStrike. And any lawyer with a half his salt could go into a court with what we know about CrowdStrike and totally destroy them. And of course, CrowdStrike, Sean Henry and the group, they can't be trusted whatsoever. So That is what Nunes is referring to. But he was also, Maria Bartiromo also asked him about the continued investigations and the information that's been coming out over the past couple weeks with Sally Moyer. Now we have McCabe and Sally Yates read every line of the FISA warrant. All these things that have come out in the past couple weeks that are not being covered in the lamestream corporate media. But basically Nunes says, well, you know, I'm still on the committee. I'm still the ranking member Republican on that committee. Now, of course, Adam Schiff, the bug-eyed fool, does control the committee, but Nunes says that doesn't stop me and other Republicans on the committee from, you know, gathering information, compiling our information, continue to build our case. And so Nunes says that, you know, his investigation hasn't stopped. It's just that it has to be done differently because he's no longer the chair. Adam Schiff is. But he said he continues to collect this evidence and will continue to move with his evidence. But, you know, I'm not sure what he can do with it other than at some point, I guess he can put it all together and ask for a criminal referral. And I expect that that is exactly what he's going to do. But at this point, he's probably going to wait for Barr to see what he can make of Barr and to see if maybe he thinks William Barr will look at this stuff. If he thinks William Barr will be interested in looking at this stuff, he probably will, along with Lindsey Graham, send this information over to, as well as Jordan and Meadows will send all the information from all their hearings and things. They will send that all to William Barr and make the recommendation that he either get a special prosecutor, investigate it, or make criminal referrals, which they can do. He doesn't need Adam Schiff to make a criminal referral. So I think that that's pretty much what you can expect. But again, it'll all come down to Barr. And there's a lot of questions around there still. I mean, a lot of us are wondering why Matt Whitaker allowed that raid. He's the acting attorney general. I mean, it seemed to me that he should have known about that raid. I wonder if he did know about it, why did he let it happen? If he did know about it, do you think he's chewed Christopher Wray's ass? I don't think he has, because No Shit Sherlock Wray came out and did a little video clip where he talked about how angry he was. He didn't say, about how angry he was about the government shutdown. At the very time that he's given this is the same day that they did the raid. He didn't seem to have a problem with sending the Gestapo out there to Roger Stone's house. And he didn't look like a guy who had just gotten his butt chewed by his boss. And what about Rodenstein? We were told that Rodenstein, once Whitaker came in, that Whitaker was going to be taking over being in charge. He had to go through an ethics hearing, and they had to look into it to see. And they came back and they said, okay, well, at this point, we would probably recommend that he recuse himself, but we can't force him to recuse himself. There's nothing really here that would force that. So it's up to Whitaker whether or not he wants to recuse himself from overseeing the Mueller investigation. But Whitaker came out and said, no, I'm not going to recuse myself from the Mueller witch hunt. So, but the Mueller witch hunt continues. We saw what just happened to Stone. I'm telling you, the Mueller witch hunt is never going to end until Trump is out of office, unless Barr forces the issue. And that's what we'll be watching for. So there's a lot to chew on there. Don't know what to think about anything. Again, I just don't have any confidence in Barr because from what I've seen at this point, you might call me jaded. So I need to see something before I put any confidence in anybody in the DOJ or the FBI. When I see some evidence of that, then maybe I'll get on board. But as far as I'm concerned right now, I'm not counting on Barr to do anything. The only way that this narrative is going to be changed and the truth is going to come out is if Trump forces the issue. Trump forces the issue when he calls Barr in the office and says, Attorney General Barr, you work for me. I want a complete investigation, whether you do it with a special counsel, however you do it. I want a complete investigation of the FISA warrants, the dossier, all the other things that happened during this 2016 election. I want it all, including an investigation of that DNC server, the Wiener laptop, and exactly what happened and getting to the bottom of who did hack the DNC server, if anybody. The whole 9 yards. And then, of course, they'll need the support of a lot of people like ourselves, demanding that we get to the truth. Because that's what has to happen. The narrative has to be flipped. The narrative is still Trump-Russia. That's what it's been for 2 years. And it will. And the Democrats' plan is to make sure it stays Trump-Russia for the next 2 years. The only thing that will change the narrative is when some of these people who were involved in the Spygate criminal conspiracy are actually indicted. When you start seeing these people be indicted, then the corrupt news media has no choice but to cover it. And when they start covering that, the narrative will begin to change. And of course, Uncle Bob needs to go away, because you can't get the evidence until Uncle Bob is gone. And that too would change the narrative, because once Uncle Bob is gone and he hasn't laid a finger on Trump or any of his kids or anyone else other than people for process crimes and old charges from bank fraud and other things that happened a long time ago, when that's aired out, then that whole narrative is pretty much dead. It's over. They can pursue it in the House of Representatives all they want. It's going nowhere, because the trial happens in the Senate. So, and if William Barr does his job and he's goes after the real criminals, then the Democrats will be so up to their ass in alligators and playing defense, trying to fight off and explain, try to come up with some explanations for why all these Democrats, people in the FBI, DOJ, maybe the intelligence community, people in the Clinton campaign, whatever, while these people are being prosecuted or charged or indicted or sent in front of grand juries or whatever, subpoenaed, SWAT raided, whatever, it's going to be hard for the media to continue the narrative. That's why the narrative must change, and that's how it does change. And I see no other way that it changes. That's the key. Change the narrative. Ain't going to happen until Uncle Bob is down the road. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone who took part in the Dumbass of the Week. Had a lot of great suggestions and nominations for Dumbass of the Week. It was actually really close. It was really two top two things that were really dominating the Dumbass of the Week, and was primarily dominated by the FBI raid on Stone and, of course, the Mueller association with that. Mueller, of course, ordering that raid. Obviously signed off on by Rodenstein and possibly even by Whitaker, I don't know. So it was really that, and what was the... Yeah, really that, and this the FBI raid and the CNN saying that they, they just heard about it or had a gut instinct. This reporter David Shortall. Those two things are really the top two things which are basically very similar. They're about the same story. The FBI raid in itself by Uncle Bob, and that would make Uncle Bob the Dumbass of the Week. And, of course, this CNN story, which was covering the raid. So that was pretty much dominated the nominations for Dumbass of the Week. But we also had quite a few for Pelosi and some other ones. So I'll just go down these very quickly for you. We had Patty, who was, of course, made a very good suggestion that the journalist that attacked the Covington Catholic boys there by writing that story without verifying it could certainly be the Dumbass of the Week, and she's absolutely correct. Well done, Patty. All the journalists, and not just journalists, but Hollywood people and just others, many people who jumped on that story, started tweeting about it before they got the facts, they could all easily qualify for Dumbass of the Week. Of course, Thesaurus, of course, his vote was for CNN and David Shortell. Ed, of course, agreed with be CNN. Rocky, of course, the FBI raid on Stone. All these pretty much connected. Jeanette, the FBI raid, Mueller specifically. Roy, of course, the Mueller raid and on Stone. Leslie preferred Pelosi for her failed attempt at trying to get out of the country on her little junket, which Trump canceled. That was pretty funny, and that would certainly make her a dumbass. Well done, Leslie. Then we had, of course, Robert thought Pelosi. Larry, Brian Stelter, very good, because I know what clip he's talking about. There's actually two clips on that video. I saw it. Brian Stelter's attempt to defend fake news. That was actually pretty funny. Well done, Larry. Let's see. I can't read my writing on there. But another person for Pelosi, and of course her comment on illegal drugs coming across the border. Yes, that was a dandy. We have tax-paying contributor thought Chris Wray. Yeah, Chris Wray would certainly be. He would be the person who I would assume would have had to have known about the raid. And of course the comments he made afterwards, that would certainly qualify him. The Iowa Russian Stormy bot says Mueller and Stone threatening Randy Credico's dog. Yeah, Roger Stone for threatening Randy Credico's dog. His vote goes to Mueller. which again, the Mueller is tied to the FBI raid and tied to the CNN story. They're kind of tied together. Mrs. Miggins, again, she went for CNN and David Shortell. She's in the majority there. Mike G, our good friend from the UK. He thought Trump would be the dumbass of the week. A lot of people will probably agree with that. Silas thought Nathan Phillips. Yes, I'm surprised that was the very first person to bring up Nathan Phillips, especially after his history has been exposed. Jonathan, Michael Hayden, and I know exactly what he's talking about as well. Very good, Jonathan. Yeah, Michael Hayden eventually coming out and suggesting, well, we don't even need a special prosecutor or DOJ or anything. We just need the Congress, the House of Representatives. They're in charge now. Pelosi's in charge now. They can do this investigation there and impeach Trump there. Yeah. So Michael Hayden, obviously a Trump hater. He's an asshole, by the way. Then we have Miss Tree, and she had a good one as well. Kristen Cinema, whatever the hell her name is, and she was talking about her outfit that she wore. I don't know how many of you saw the clip of Kristen Cinema when she was on the Senate floor, but she was wearing this outfit that she literally looked like, a prostitute in a movie that's standing on the street corner. She had these like thigh-high boots and this short skirt, and she's a little too heavy to be wearing that kind of clothing anyway. And but she obviously thinks she's a hottie, but no question about it. She's a disaster. I hope we don't have to put her for very long, but she's there for 6 years, I guess, unless they can recall her or whatever. She says something really stupid and is forced to resign. I don't know, but she is something else, really. So Miss Tree is actually correct. Kristen Sinema is a mess. Gregory thought Kevin McCarthy. Walker on the Hill voted for Eric Swalwell. Yeah, Eric Swalwell over there on MSNBC and CNN, actually, both. Of course, he's all over both of those all the time. I mean, I think he's on there almost every day. And, of course, he's making the case that Trump's a Russian agent. That, of course, would definitely make him asshole of the week. And he said he's been nominated many times. In fact, I think he's actually won Dumbass of the Week a couple times. Friend in Liberty thought Ann Coulter. Yes, indeed. I mean, I would definitely support that. I am no fan of Ann Coulter. Never really have been. Not sure why so many people like her or, whatever, buy her books or whatever. I think she's highly, highly overrated. But yes, for her comments about Trump being the biggest wimp in history or whatever, totally uncalled for. I just don't like her. That's just my bottom line on her. And of course, 1966 Chevy van goes with Mueller and the FBI raid on Stone. So what we have here is we have pretty much the top two very, very close in terms of votes. The biggest vote getter, of course, would be and I'm going to separate these, even though I kind of see them being together, but in first place, it would have been the FBI raid, which most people are associating with Mueller. So that would make Uncle Bob the Executioner the dumbass of the week. And there's something about this, too, that a lot of people are not pointing out that even makes him more of the dumbass of the week, because we know he ordered this raid, and somebody in the FBI, probably on his team, on the Mueller team, somebody leaked that to CNN. There's no doubt in my mind that CNN had a heads up on that. And if that's so, then it's actually turned out to be a bad move, because the PR, the negative PR that they're getting from that raid, is actually making them look really bad. So not just a decision to raid Stone, but thinking it would be a good idea to make sure CNN gets it on film, and now it's coming back to bite them in the butt. So first place for Dumbass of the Week, winner of the Dumbass of the Week, Uncle Bob the Executioner. Congratulations for all of those of you who made that choice. And the second most vote-getting person, the runner-up, would have been CNN with this idiot David Shortall. They came in a close second to Mueller himself. And then, of course, we had Pelosi, and there was numerous things that people cited on Pelosi that would have qualified her for Dumbass of the Week, and I agree with all that. So that looks like it's it. Uncle Bob the Executioner at first place. He is the Dumbass of the Week. A close second, CNN and this idiot David Shortall, with Pelosi bringing up the rear in third place for honorable mention. Thank you so much for taking part in the Dumbass of the Week. We'll be back next week with more TowerGate. Actually, tomorrow, Monday. Or Tuesday. I'm sorry, this is Monday. So I'll be back Tuesday with more TowerGate. Thanks, you guys. See you. Bye.